Good morning, you are watching A News. I'm Katie Wilson. Here are the top stories. The situation in Gaza remains tense following multiple airstrikes. A breakthrough is reached in securing finance for developing nations at UN summit in Seville. Thousands of firefighters continue battling intense wildfires in Türkiye. The situation in Gaza remains tense as Israeli airstrikes killed at least 74 people on Monday, according to local officials. Authorities said more than 34 people, including women, children and journalists, died at a cafe by the sea. The strikes happened while President Donald Trump was trying to negotiate a ceasefire. Trump said, "Make a deal in Gaza, return the hostages." The White House said the president talks often with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and is working to end the conflict. The Israeli army has ordered people in the north to evacuate from the area as soldiers prepare to fight Hamas in Gaza City. Qatar and Egypt are mediating talks, but no date has been set for a new ceasefire. Well, Netanyahu has made strong remarks during a meeting with military leaders in Tel Aviv. He said Iran has three plans: to destroy Israel, encircling it, attacking with missiles, and using nuclear threats. He believes Iran must eliminate Israel to reach its goals in the region. Netanyahu said that if Israel disappeared, the Middle East would collapse. He added that while US support is helpful, it's not required. He called Israel's recent military actions a historic success and said they've already helped the economy. Just a reminder, on the 13th of June, Israel attacked Iran's nuclear sites, killing commanders and civilians. Iran responded with missile strikes. The US joined on the 22nd of June and a ceasefire was declared a couple of days later on the 24th. Foreign ministers from G7 nations say they back last week's ceasefire agreement between Israel and Iran and call for renewed talks on Iran's nuclear program. The move follows recent escalations and military strikes. In a joint statement, they urged all sides to avoid actions that could further destabilise the region. They also called for the swift resumption of nuclear negotiations with Tehran. Meanwhile, the International Atomic Energy Agency recently found Iran in breach of its non-proliferation commitments for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Tehran says that trust in the United Nations Nuclear Inspectorate is broken. President Trump has signed an executive order easing decades-old sanctions on Syria. The move, welcomed by Damascus, aims to boost investment in reconstruction efforts more than 6 months after the ousting of Bashar al-Assad. The US Treasury said it'll offer relief to sectors critical for Syria's development and social rebuilding. The sanctions have been in place since before Syria's civil war and had crippled the country's economy and stalled reconstruction. Meanwhile, those restrictions linked to Assad, his associates, ISIL and Iran will remain in place. The Treasury said 518 individuals and entities have already been removed from the sanctions list, though some restrictions will stay for now. The 4th International Conference on Financing for Development in Seville has devised a system by which the developing world can borrow money for national investment without crippling debt burdens. The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres launched the Seville Commitment on Monday to boost support for developing nations.
A global agreement to accelerate financing and sustainable development has been launched in Spain at the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, known as FFD4, on Monday. The Seville Commitment is a document that the United Nations chief says marks progress beyond previous global efforts. However, speaking from Seville, Secretary-General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, said that sustainable development can only come when there is sustainable peace and called for unified support to end global conflicts.
At a time of profound global turmoil, we must keep working for peace. For peace in the Middle East, for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate release of all hostages, and unimpeded humanitarian access as a first step to achieve the two-state solution.
He said the Seville Platform of Action will include dozens of new initiatives, including a dedicated forum for countries to coordinate debt strategies.
with the adoption of the Seville Commitment document, countries are proving their dedication to getting the engine of development reviving again. Through new domestic and global commitments that can channel public and private finance to the areas of greatest need. By overhauling the world's approach to debt, to make borrowing work in service of sustainable development.
The Secretary-General also noted that 11 actionable proposals are ready to tackle the deepening debt crisis, with backing from major economies, including G20 members. In closing, Guterres urged powerful nations to lead the transformation now rather than resist it later when global power dynamics inevitably shift.
Europe is baking under an intense heatwave with record-breaking temperatures gripping several countries. From Spain to the UK, millions are feeling the impact as health warnings remain in place and authorities scramble to help vulnerable groups.
A prolonged heatwave tightened its grip on Europe on Monday, driving temperatures to record-breaking levels and prompting health warnings across several countries. Spain recorded a national June temperature record on Sunday, with El Granado, near the Portuguese border, reaching 46 degrees Celsius. Portugal placed 7 districts under a red heat warning, with Lisbon facing persistently extremely high temperatures. In Germany, southern and western regions were under heat alerts, with the German Weather Service predicting highs of up to 39 degrees Celsius later in the week. At the Berlin Zoo, keepers showered elephants and handed out ice treats to animals to help them cope with the heat. In Belgium, staff at a retirement home north of Brussels set up a paddling pool for elderly residents to cool their feet. Outdoor activities were cancelled as temperatures climbed, and staff noted many residents were becoming lethargic or unwell from the heat. Britain experienced the peak of a 4-day heatwave, with temperatures hitting 33 degrees Celsius at London's Heathrow Airport on Monday. People sought relief in parks and by the sea, with Brighton Beach drawing sunbathers and swimmers over the weekend. Meteorologists attributed the heatwave to a heat dome, a high-pressure system trapping hot air over the region.
It's not just affecting one area, it's quite a wide area of Europe struggling with these very high temperatures at the moment, which according to Climate Central, if you take a look at the previous temperatures over like decades, we can see that these temperatures are 3 to 5 times more likely than they would have been without the impact of human-induced climate change. So we're seeing these higher temperatures as a direct consequence of climate change.
Relief is expected for some areas by midweek as rain and cooler weather moves in.
Afghanistan was hit by deadly flash floods as forecasters warn of a looming heatwave and more extreme weather events. Our correspondent Tamim Barhes has more from Kabul.
Deadly flash floods triggered by recent heavy rainfall have struck the provinces of Maidan Wardak and Logar, claiming the lives of 4 people, including 3 children, and injuring 4 others. The floods have left a trail of destructions. According to local officials, hundreds of families have been displaced, while over 3,200 hectares of farmland and around 270 oaks have been destroyed. Authorities say several major roads blocked by the floodwaters have now been cleared. Emergency aid, including food and tents, is being distributed to those affected. But flood victims continue to appeal for more help from the interim government and humanitarian organizations. Meanwhile, the Meteorological Department reports that temperature in June have risen by 2 degrees Celsius compared to the same period last year. The rising heat is fueling concerns that more extreme weather events could follow. The UN has warned of a severe heat wave expected between July 1st and 3rd. Temperatures could soar as high as 45 degrees Celsius in parts of eastern, northern and southern Afghanistan. With floods displacing families and extreme heat looming, the crisis highlights a growing reality. Climate change is having a severe and accelerating impact on Afghanistan, threatening lives and livelihoods and the country's fragile environment. Tamim Bahis reporting for A News from Kabul, Afghanistan.
Well, wildfires in Turkey's Hatay and Izmir regions are threatening hundreds of homes, with thousands of residents evacuated. Officials say firefighting efforts are continuing and damage assessments are underway in the affected areas.
On Monday evening, wildfires broke out near homes in Türkiye's Hatay region. Türkiye's disaster management agency, AFAD, announced that more than 50,000 people have been evacuated from 5 regions, including over 42,000 from Izmir.
We have carried out the evacuations. We have evacuated 20 houses so far, and we are housing these citizens at residence halls. Other than that, we are also meeting their needs.
In Izmir, strong winds made the fires worse for the second day. Several villages and neighborhoods were evacuated. 21 people hurt by the fires were treated and released from hospitals. Some homes were badly damaged by the fires.
It is very sad. We were really upset. We have 40 years of memories here. Our children grew up here. I spent my youth here. I can only turn my back to it. I cannot look at it. That is how much it pains me. Let this be a lesson to people. Please question it, especially those who have a house, live in fire zones.
A 40-year investment was destroyed here. It is not possible to repair this place anymore. What can be done here? I guess there is damage to nearly 100 houses here. What can the state do as support? What can be done? That's it. If precautions can be taken for this not to happen again, these should be taken.
Forestry Minister Ibrahim Yumaklis said 4 villages and 3 neighborhoods were evacuated as a safety measure. 21 people affected by the fire have left the hospital. Firefighters are still fighting the wildfires along the Aegean coast.
Until now, I had said that 4 villages and 3 neighborhoods were evacuated as a precaution. Damage assessment work is being done by teams. Our environment and urbanization teams will go out into the field after the information that the fires are contained. 21 citizens who said they were affected by the fire due to smoke or other reasons have all returned home after outpatient treatment.
In Izmir, firefighting efforts involve 4 planes, 14 helicopters, and 106 fire trucks. Strong winds prevent air units from combating wildfires. Because of the fires, 4 villages and 2 neighborhoods were evacuated. Flights at Izmir airport were paused due to smoke and fog. Experts say hotter, drier summers from climate change are causing more wildfires. Winds up to 100 kilometers per hour made firefighting harder on June 29th. Over 1,000 firefighters with planes and helicopters are working to control the fires. 3 people were treated for smoke inhalation and released the same day. Locals have also been helping fight the fires near homes.
The bodies of 2 Azerbaijanis killed during a controversial Russian security raid were returned home on Monday. Hussein and Ziadin Safarov lost their lives in a Federal Security Service operation in Ekaterinburg last Friday, an event that has sparked outrage in Baku. Aytan Shukurova reports from Baku Airport.
The bodies of Hussein and Ziadin Safarov, 2 Azerbaijani nationals killed during a Russian security operation in Yekaterinburg, have been repatriated to Azerbaijan. The remains arrived at Baku airport, and according to their brother Seyfettin Hussein, the brothers will be buried in Acabade. The 2 men were killed on the morning of 27th of June when Russia's Federal Security Service conducted raids on homes belonging to Azerbaijanis in Yekaterinburg. The operation resulted in at least 9 arrests, while reports suggest that over 60 Azerbaijanis may have been detained in total. One of those detained, who has since been released, alleged physical abuse, humiliation, and the unlawful seizure of valuables during the raid. Azerbaijan's foreign ministry has strongly condemned the operation, describing it as brutal and unjustified. The Russian charged d'affaires in Baku, Pyotr Volokovic, was summoned to the ministry where officials demanded an immediate and transparent investigation. Baku has stressed that the killings were unacceptable and voiced concerns about ethnic profiling and the use of excessive force against Azerbaijani citizens. While Russian authorities have claimed the raids were linked to an ongoing investigation into past crimes, they have not disclosed details about the circumstances of the killings or the level of force employed. Azerbaijan continues to call for full accountability and assurances for the safety and legal rights for its citizens residing in Russia.
A new freight train route connecting Beijing to Baku was launched at the Beijing International Land Port. Drone footage shows a China-Europe freight train waiting for departure at the port. The route utilises a rail-sea-rail multimodal transport system, with the shipment set to cross the Caspian Sea by ship before reaching its final destination in Baku. The journey is expected to take approximately 15 days. Well, in our latest episode of Inside Politics, Anastasia Lavrina discussed the relationship between China and Azerbaijan, as well as the Belt and Road Initiative with the Ambassador of China to Azerbaijan, Lu Mei. Ambassador Lu highlighted the crucial role of the Middle Corridor and shared her views on the importance of the strategic partnership between the two countries.
President Aliyev and President Xi Jinping has signed a joint statement on the establishment of comprehensive strategic partnership between China and Azerbaijan, which opening a historical new chapter for both countries. And besides the joint statement, two countries have joined 20 agreements on various fields for further cooperation, including Belt and Road Initiative. Actually, Azerbaijan is one of the first countries that participate in the implementation of Belt and Road Initiative proposed by President Xi. And the joint efforts in building Belt and Road between China and Azerbaijan is not just economic cooperation, but it's deeply rooted in our history, culture, connection that deeply rooted in the ancient Silk road between China and Azerbaijan. The vision is actually solving the question of our time, what kind of world to build and how to build it. And the goal is to build a world of lasting peace and security and common shared prosperity. And President Xi Jinping also put forward 3 global initiatives, which are Global Security Initiative, Global Development Initiative, and Global Civilization Initiative, which is to support the vision of building a community of shared future for mankind. And we are very delighted that many countries, including Azerbaijan, have joined the efforts of building this international community of shared future for mankind.
China's Zijin Mining is looking to enter Kazakhstan's market with a $1.2 billion deal on a major gold deposit. Our correspondent Fariza Kalamirzana has the details.
Zijin Mining, a global leader in gold and non-ferrous metal production, is entering the Kazakh market with a landmark deal. The Chinese company has agreed to buy the Rai-Horodok gold deposit in Kazakhstan's Akmola region. The $1.2 billion transaction marks Zijin's largest gold deal in the past 6 years. Under the agreement, control of the deposit will transfer from Kazakhstani company Kantek to Jinha Mining, Zijin's Singapore-based subsidiary. The purchase is still subject to approval by Kazakhstan's regulatory authorities. According to the internationally recognized geo classification, the Rai-Horodok deposit holds an estimated 100 tons of gold, making it the 3rd largest in Kazakhstan and one of the country's biggest single-source deposits. Current production stands at around 5.5 tons per year, but RG Gold, the operator, says output could rise to 10 tons annually in the coming years. With this purchase, Zijin aims to increase its total gold output to 110 tons per year by 2028. The company, valued at approximately $70 billion, manages more than 30 mining projects across 17 countries. It emphasizes sustainable growth, environmental responsibility, and the use of green technologies. Zijin's entry into Kazakhstan is expected to bring international expertise, fresh investment, and job creation to the region at a time when the country's gross international reserves have reached $52.4 billion, highlighting its economic strength. Fariza Kalimurzina, A News in Almaty, Kazakhstan.
We're done for now, but don't go far. Stay tuned for more and have a wonderful morning.